Welcome to the ChronCast, a division of the Chronicle and IMI. We hope you'll enjoy today's podcast episode, and if you do, please be sure to leave a like and share it around. Also, be sure to follow us in our social medias, which will be linked in the description box below. Hey everyone, welcome to the ChronCast. I'm your host, Aditya Thiyag. I am joined today by Lydia Lysko once again. Lydia, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I am really excited because as of when I am recording this, in 21 days with my good friends, I am about to go see Mitski in concert in Nashville.
Oh my gosh, that's so exciting. On March 23rd, I'm going to go see Conan Gray
That's
in
like
concert.
in a couple weeks.
I know! It's going to be like my first live concert ever, and I'm just really, really excited.
I've been to a couple concerts before. One of them is this Indian musician. I love him so much. He's like literally one of my favorite artists of all time. His name is A.R. Rahman. I went when I was in the 5th or 6th grade. I had a really good time, but I don't remember it all that well. And then another one, I went to like the Piano Guys when I was in 7th grade, I think. But I haven't gone to like a full-on like pop music concert, and I'm excited to see what the ambience is like. Have any of like your friends or family been to any concerts?
Yes, my sister has been to every single Taylor Swift concert since Red.
Oh my gosh.
So she loves like the atmosphere, and because like you just get to see like your favorite musicians just like in person, and I just imagine it's so different. And then one of my friends a couple weeks ago actually went to see Dua Lipa concert.
That's so awesome, dude.
I know. It must have just been crazy. So I'm excited to see someone who Okay, so funny story. The reason I got tickets was because Spotify was like, hey, you're one of this guy's top listeners. You get pre-sale. I was like, I've listened to one of his songs, but I'll take it. So I got pre-sale, and I texted my sister, and I was like, do you want to go see Conan Gray? And she's like, I love concerts, absolutely. And then I got tickets.
Dude, I'm so excited for you. Like, for me personally, I know I mentioned I've only seen a couple concerts, like I've only been to a couple concerts, but in my free time, I do really enjoy watching, like, hip-hop concerts, not only because, like, it's cool to see the atmosphere and how everyone is, but I always feel like live performances, they really tell you who's, like, some of the best and who's just kind of there. Oh, yeah. And I always feel like live performances, even on, like, stuff like SNL, like, Kendrick Lamar did a fantastic performance of I on SNL, and Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak, I think they did Fly As Me live, and like I absolutely adore live performances, and I'm so excited to get to see one of my favorite artists do it in person.
I know, yeah. I've always wanted to go live because I go see someone live because I really feel like you see them with at their truest, their best voice, because with most recordings, I know most artists do this, they auto-tune stuff and they change it to the way it sounds more professional, but live it's just you see them and they're in the moment. Because I know Taylor Swift, one of her most famous clips is her at her Sydney tour in Australia, just having fun with the crowd. And then I know Harry Styles does this a lot too. He you always interact with the crowd and add stuff to your songs. And I feel you can't get the same energy from a studio recording. And Elton John, Benny and the Jets, he only performed that live. So there's only the live recording of that song, even though it's one of my favorite Elton John songs.
Yeah, and I think what you said about being able to see an artist's true self is so apparent, not only because you're able to hear the emotional vulnerability, but it's also you can see them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Someone was posting pictures, I think I saw it on social media, it was literally Mitski performing a song called I Will, and she was tearing up in her performance. Yeah. And it really goes to show just for us, right? They are songs, and I'm the firm believer that art has power. But when you see it live, you recognize when these artists are performing it. They're not just performing something, to you it might be something that just came on the radio, but for them it's something it's their livelihood. They poured hours of their time, they put passion into it. So it's really cool to be able to see just that experience, but unfiltered.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. Art is power, and you get to see them how much they've, you said, how much time they've poured into it. And like you said, it may just be a song on the radio or that Spotify recommended to us, but for them it's it really means something. Like, it's just so special because they've created this song and then now they get to perform it
in front of a bunch of people
that
they
sold
don't
out
even
stadiums.
know.
Yeah.
And I think the crazy experience must be like going to different cities and just being able to take in, like, obviously, like, monthly listeners, it's a cool number to have. And, like, sales, like, if I sold 100,000 records, obviously it's awesome, right? But I think for an artist, what must be really empowering is being able to stand on a stage, like, time and time again, and look at so many people in the crowd just wanting to be there just to be in your presence. Like, that must be a completely different feeling. And, like, it's just, I think it can either be extremely empowering or extremely daunting, depending on what kind of artist and what kind of human being you are.
Though I feel like if you're gonna go on tour and you're a popular musician, you gotta be ready for these sold out stadiums to perform in front of these massive crowds, and that takes so much. I can't ever imagine doing that, like, personally. So
I mean, you perform too, right? Because, like,
yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you guys know, but Lydia here, she's a member of our local high school's band, and our band is really, really good, by the way. But, like,
we are.
they travel, like, all across the country. Like, they went to Kansas City recently. They go to Indianapolis for Grand Nationals every year. And, like, they are performing in front of, like, a ton of people, competing with other bands. So I want to know, like, what's the experience like, even though if you are a part of a band, it's not like you just soloing, right? What is it like performing, like, with your band live?
Oh my gosh, performing with my band live. So I'm gonna do marching band because I feel like that's a closer experience to what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Because every year Grand Nationals is held at Lucas Oil Stadium. So it's like, it's a football field, so it's massive. And almost like the entire side that we perform to is like full.
It's packed.
So it's a lot of people, and I just feel like I'm not alone. Like, we're all in this together. The hours and hours that I've worked together, I think over, like, the past season, we definitely hit, like, we hit over 100 hours early, let's just say. But, no, it's just, I feel like I'm not alone in that. They're always gonna, like, we're in this together, because if one of us mess up, the whole band mess ups. It's not an individual's mistake, it's our mistake.
Right, and I feel like even though when we go to concerts and stuff and we're focusing on that headline act, that Taylor Swift, the Harry Styles, the Conor, the Mitski, right? Ultimately, like, they're not just performing with only backing vocals and like looped instrumentals, because even if you're a hip hop artist, like, you have a DJ in the background handling mixes, like, you have other artists on stage with you, like, playing instrumentals, like, that is still a collective effort.
Yeah, it's not just them. Like, they do have, like, a team with them, and I feel like that is not as, like, it's similar to band, I guess, but in marching band there's, like, 300 of us. Well, for, like, an artist, there's only, like, their small group, but they've worked so hard with their specific people, just like how we do in band. They spent all those hours together because they probably, like, had help writing those songs, right? So it's just must be really special just to be able to get to perform with the people that have been with you through, like, the entire process. And I guess I can relate to that a little bit, but in front of, like, thousands of people, it's just a little bit different.
And I feel like the underappreciated aspect and the thing that people don't emphasize the most, it's mainly the idea of these artists might be performing, like, music, and it might be something, like, as I was saying earlier, just like it might be something you hear on the radio, but, like, beneath it all, these artists are still human beings, right? And I think 100%. That aspect gets swept under the rug a lot, because, like, and I don't want to get, like, too into this, but it is extremely, like, I don't know if disturbing is the right word. It's extremely uncomfortable, like, what Mitski has had to go through on her tour this year. If you guys don't know, basically she's been facing, like, harassment from her own fans. They've been extremely, like, weird to her, infringing upon her, like, personal bubble, like, and, like, her opening act, like, their trailer got stolen by a bunch of fans in Texas, and it's just the idea of, like, I don't know what, like, you might be paying money to see this artist, right? But this artist did not have to give that opportunity of like, hey, I am going to come perform these songs for you.
No, yeah, 100%. They're still people.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, would you go up to like a random stranger on the street and just like
Start
climb on
harassing
them and
yeah.
start doing that? So I think like when you see those videos, it's like, oh, Mitski's treating her fans so horribly. She's not giving them the attention they deserve. It's like, she's doing this for you guys. Yeah. Like, she is still a human being who deserves to have her own personal space. And the fans who, like, don't respect that should not have a right to be at the concert.
Yeah, and, like, here's the thing, right? Like, she doesn't owe her fans anything.
No.
Like, we are not owed anything. And I think the whole idea of fandom, obviously there are artists who are like, I love my fans, and I get that, right? Because like at the end of the day, like even if it is a profession for them, even if it is their livelihood, there has to be genuinely some artists out there who are like, you know, I'm putting myself out there and people are absorbing with it, they're connecting with it, right? And like they must be very touched, but at the same time, like just because I am listening to like Mitski's music or anyone's music, it doesn't mean that I'm automatically her best friend or I know everything about her.
Yeah, like I think when we begin to idolize these artists, that's when it becomes a problem. Like they are giving us, like you said, the chance to go see them in person because they want to give back. Because like we listen to them, and obviously that like helps boost their sales. But at the end of the day, they made the music themselves, and they have every right to be like, actually, no, I don't want to go on tour. I don't want to do this because like it could be getting too creepy, like for Mitski, or they just don't want to.
Yeah.
And they have every right to make that decision.
Absolutely. And I understand why like I know you mentioned it earlier how like Taylor Swift on her Sydney tour, one of her most famous clips is like her interacting with fans. And I get why like some artists are really like that, like they love interacting with fans, and I'm sure no artist is genuinely like, no, I don't want to interact with any of you. But I understand in someone like Mitski's position, like after facing such harassment on the opening days of her tour, like if she's only performing music up there and she's not interacting, like I would get it, honestly.
Yeah, because of the things that they've put her through. She has every right to make the decision to be like, I just want to perform my music, I'm just gonna stay over here.
Yeah.
Right? And then I don't know, that's just ridiculous to me. The fact that they idolize her so much. They're like, oh, you're mine because I listen to your music.
Like oh my gosh, even if you are one of the people who's like, I'm like in the top 0.005% of monthly listeners around the world, ultimately at the end of the day, like number one, that's a statistic, right? And number two, it's just you chose to listen to their music, but that doesn't mean they owe you anything in return.
They have no idea who you are.
Yeah.
So what right does that give you to go up to them and be like, I love you, you're mine?
Yeah, and like you're allowed to say things like, I really love what your music has done for me, I adore you like for who you are, for what you've done for me, right? But it's the fallacy that like because this person has done all those things for you, they're immediately supposed to like listen to your every whim, and anything you tell them to do is automatically like they're supposed to do it.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of those, you know, like those kids in like grade school would be like, my parents pay your taxes, so technically you have to listen to what I say to their teachers. And it's like, no, that's not how this works.
Yeah.
And I just think like the people who think like that should just not go to concerts, and because like the artists, they're putting themselves out there, right? So it opens themselves up to the dangers of possibly being like harassed.
Yeah.
Right? And they're doing it because they love their music. They do this because they want to share with more people.
And I'm sure, like, there is, like, we know we're really coming hard like this, but, like, we're sure that there are, artists, even though they might not know us personally, I'm sure they still, like, they love us in the sense that, thank you for listening to my music, I love you for listening to my music. But it's not like, there's an artist-fan connection there, but there's nothing more.
Exactly.
And I think that's what people need to realize. And I think another aspect of it is just the idea that you don't need to get personally invested in your artist's drama.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. Sometimes though, like, okay, when Taylor Swift and Jake Gyllenhaal, that was a very big thing.
Yeah. Right?
I mean, people obviously are entitled to their opinions, but you don't have to go slamming Jake Gyllenhaal on Twitter.
And like the big thing, like when I think, right, like I'm a massive Kanye West fan, right? But I don't have anything against Taylor Swift, right, music-wise. I'm just like, I listen to both, and I know you're a massive Taylor Swift fan, and I know this will probably be the last podcast I record with Lydia because she's never gonna agree to do one of these again.
Yeah.
But like, but like the idea that like you can listen to Kanye's and Taylor's music without bashing one another, or if you listen to like this artist, you're not like barred from listening to like another person's music ever again because that artist has beef. You know what I mean?
When I obviously like follow celebrities or like listen to people's music, I try to take them for their talent. Like some actors, I do not agree with like what they do politically or like anything or like even like personal, but I still love the movies that they're in because like they're so talented, but I just don't agree with their other decisions, and I'm still allowed to like the actor without 100% agreeing with everything.
And there's like a dividing line, and like obviously I don't want to get into it right now, but there's a very like thin line between like this person supports this political belief or this person straight up just like harassing someone. Like there's a line. Obviously, like a lot of that is just in the spur of the moment. Like you'll know what to do when you're in that moment. But we're talking about like when Drake and Kanye were beefing, like you can listen and enjoy. Like I listen to and enjoy both artists, right? Like you don't need to be personally invested in your artist's beef in order to enjoy their music.
Yeah, exactly, 100%.
And continue.
Sorry, if you're again, back to the whole Taylor Swift, Jake Gyllenhaal. Like, if you were a Jake Gyllenhaal fan, right, you can still listen to, like, Taylor Swift. Like, you can listen to Red and be like, this really goes hard. Listen to Red's Taylor's version, please. But you can be like, this is really good. Even if you, you don't like their whole relationship, you can still, like, listen to the music and, like, possibly enjoy it.
And you can still appreciate Nightcrawler, because it's a really good movie from what I've heard.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one last thing I do want to touch on, since we are talking about, I know this originally started with like live performances, but we also delved into fandom, and I think a very interesting part of fandom that I wanted to discuss before we sign off here is gatekeeping, like the idea of gatekeeping, because that absolutely confuses me.
It's just, if you love your artist, why would you not want to share them with like the world? Right? You're like, I listened to this underground. You wouldn't know them. It's like, then tell me. I don't understand.
And like, I was talking about it with one of my... So every time I go on a walk with my dog, I call one of my friends. And him and I like always talk about like some music or like whatever. But like him and I were talking about this, and he can attest to this in the sense that like anytime I find a new artist, I have the immediate urge to like share it with him, share it with everyone I know. And I recently started going through this rapper named Schoolboy Q, like his discography, because my best friend, like he's that big of a fan of him, right? It's his favorite rapper. So like after I'm able to listen to their music, we're able to talk about it. We have fun with it. Like
it's just a bonding experience.
Yeah.
Like if you really love this artist that not a lot of people know about, why wouldn't you want to like share it with someone so that way you can be like, oh my gosh, did you see this new album that dropped?
Yeah.
Or like, oh, the new song came out.
And it might be personal to you, but I don't think sharing that music with anyone makes your experience any more intimate or any more personal. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, you are still the one listening to the music, right?
Yeah, you can still share it, but it's their choice if they want to listen to it or not.
Yeah.
You shouldn't gatekeep the artist because like just for why? I just don't understand.
And I also don't understand people who like love an artist but gatekeep them, because to me it's like when you're like talking about an artist, right, like and you're showing them to more people, at the end of the day if they start listening and they share more people, the artist will end up being more successful because they have more fans, right? So if you're a fan of an artist, why wouldn't you want them to be more successful?
Exactly. You think, oh, they're my artist, only I can listen to them, so maybe like back to like what we were talking about earlier, like, oh, maybe they'll give me attention. It's like, first of all, no. And second of all, they're just trying to live their life. They're just trying to be successful and just trying to have a successful career. And you gatekeeping them because you think, oh, they're only special to me, just doesn't help anyone in this situation and should just not be a thing because it's just stupid.
It's weird, yeah.
just don't agree with that.
So that's all the time we have for you guys today in this episode of the ChronCast. Lydia, thanks for being on here.
Thank you so much for having me. I love coming on.
I know it's gonna be the last time because I said I liked Kanye.
Yeah, you're a Kanye. Sorry, guys.
But it was really nice having you. I know we started like by talking about like live performances, but I'm glad I got to discuss like fandom and like concert etiquette, just how to be a decent person.
Yeah, just be a decent human being.
Yeah.
If you take one thing away, just people are just trying to live their lives.
There's just artists or people too. That's it. But that's all we have for you guys today. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the ChronCast. I'm Aditya Thiyag, your host, and I'm signing off. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the ChronCast. If you enjoyed this episode and want to be notified when our next episode goes live, please be sure to follow us on all of our social medias as well as hitting the subscribe button. In addition, if you want to check out our other podcast, The Interview by Alex Daracel, a link will be provided in the description box below. We hope you'll choose to join us again on the next episode.